And I look at the church as a table. And let's back up a little bit and think about this. How many of you, I can promise you, this is your first day with us and you're hearing my messages for the first time. There's 3 things I'm going to include in every message. Or at least one of these 3 things. You're always going to hear me talk about maybe food. And that food usually be bacon. And sports. And Jesus. So here we go, food, number 1. I love food, Carrie Box. She can cook. But with that, how many of you love Chick-fil-A? Sorry, Michael Beebe. Okay, you do love it. You work there and still love it. That's good. So, I just want to try this. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I challenge you, go to Chick-fil-A and see how many My Pleasures you can get in one visit. It's fun. All of my pleasures. Like, just say thank you after everything you do. They're like, welcome to Chick-fil-A. Thank you. It's my pleasure. And, I want a milkshake. Thank you. I need a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Thank you. And they'll just keep saying, my pleasure, my pleasure. So next week, let me know how many you get. But the Chick-fil-A at the mall is what I'm thinking about specifically. That was the original Chick-fil-A for us here. Then they put this amazing drive-thru in. And the service that they provide is always phenomenal. They always blow me away. I literally put a post out there in the past that said, like, Chick-fil-A's service made me want to be a better person. It made me feel like I was kind of failing at life because they serve food better than I love people, you know? And so, but that one at the mall, you know, this would be a horrible job for me. Like, I used to sell shoes at the mall, okay? And that was a really fun job, but it was a really horrible job because I never made any money. Because I got a discount on shoes and my paycheck just went right back to the shoe store. And so they were brilliant. They're like, hire like young kids that don't know any better and they'll just put it all back into the company. And so, but when you worked at the mall and they were there, you'd go eat at Chick-fil-A all the time. And I still go eat at Chick-fil-A all the time. But they always have the little lady, or the guy sometimes, but it holds the tray with the samples on it. You know what I'm talking about? And when I worked at the mall, I used to love to go and see how many samples I could get. You know, just keep walking around. And it's kind of like, how many of you go to Sam's and do the same thing? Like Sunday afternoon, Sam's? It's like, no, we don't need lunch. Let's just go to Sam's. My wife will do that, I promise you. And then if you don't get full, you go spend more like $1.25 on a piece of pizza. And then, you know. But anyway, at Chick-fil-A, what happens sometimes is you'll have this person out there with the samples, right? And what's that person's purpose? What are they doing? What are they trying to do? Yes, Riken, what are they doing?
They're trying to get you to buy something.
They're trying to get you to buy something. They are bringing you in. They're like enticing you in. It's like in the old cartoons, you know, like the scent would go out there and like capture you and bring you in. But, so here's what happens though. Sometimes like I'll go, and you know, even if you know what you're going to get at Chick-fil-A, you still always grab a sample, right? Like you still do it. It's like you already had me at hello, you're Chick-fil-A for crying out loud, but you go and you grab that sample. And then you get food, and then you go and sit down. Well, there's been a few times that when I go over there, the lady that gives the samples out, it'll slow down and people aren't walking by. And then she'll start like walking through the tables. And like she'll bring, I'm eating Chick-fil-A already. And she's like bringing the samples to me. And I'm like, waffle fry, more chicken, yeah. Like, you kind of feel guilty, but you can't say no. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay. And so, but this is kind of an illustration. This is kind of what happens with the church sometimes. Is we have this amazing, like, don't get me wrong. There ain't nobody saying no to Chick-fil-A, and if you're wrong, if you do, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, maybe if you're a vegetarian, even at that, we still have issues. But my point is this is the challenge of the church, is she has this amazing sample, and she's, you know, missing everybody that's walking by going to the people that are already eating. Going to the people that are already eating, that are, man, I'm hook, line, and sinker. I'm buying your product. I'm smelling what you're stepping in, okay? And so, here's my thing though. The church is the table where people are supposed to come and be fed. So I look at the church as a table, just like this amazing repurposed table. In John 6:35, you hear Jesus saying, I am the bread of life. I am the bread of life. So if we want to modernize that, you can say, Jesus Christ here saying in the modern days, like, I'm your Chick-fil-A. That's a paraphrase. That's not gospel, okay? But something that we love. Something that, okay, Jesus is more than our Chick-fil-A, because while it's something we love, it's not something we really need. Okay? Some of us would go so far as to say we need Chick-fil-A. I might be one of those people. Like, I want it enough that it makes me happy, which, I don't know, I can't justify it, but I'm the bread of life. And so you have Jesus saying that He's the ultimate bread, He's the ultimate food, and the ultimate food in that, though, deserves the ultimate presentation. And so, okay, right now, this is the best that we could do. This is a lot better than my living room, okay? Right now, this is the best that we can do. I can promise you, if we were at my house right now, we would not be happy. Because that's where we were a few weeks ago, sitting in my living room, and you wouldn't be happy sitting in there. And so right now, with what's available at the table, this is the best that we could do. It's the best foot that we could put forward. If you were here last week, right now you feel like you're sitting in the Taj Mahal. Okay? So that's my point, is this is the ultimate food deserves the best presentation. And this is the best I can do. This is, I had a special shirt made. I'm losing weight. I brushed my teeth this morning and I showered. This is the best that I could put forward this morning, okay? This is the best. I don't know what else. These are the best musicians that were willing to play in here today. If there was somebody that was here better, Jerry Walker, that could have played today, they would have been up here, okay? That was the best that we could put forward. It's the best sound system we could find that we could afford today. These are the best projectors that we could afford. And we were doing this, like, to the penny. We were like, all right, this is the budget we have. What's the best that we can get? Like, we don't want to go so cheap that we're buying them again in like a year. But we need something. So I'm just saying, the ultimate food deserves the best presentation that we can put forward. I believe that. One of these ministries that I used to work with was Young Life. Has anybody ever heard of Young Life? Young Life actually meets in this room on Monday nights. It was the first ministry that I ever worked with. It was so fun. Young Life is a ministry that they're a parachurch ministry. And so they minister to the gap, all right? And so what's the gap, you'd say? The gap is this. They try to align with the church, but not with a specific church. Like, they don't say, I'm going to go and... We're not a ministry of one church. We're not a ministry of Christ Church of Oronogo. We are a ministry of the church. And so what their goal is to do is, what if we could reach any kid anywhere, but their thing is every kid everywhere. Reach them with the gospel and plug them into a church. That's their hope. They're trying to find the gap. And so one thing I used to love about them was their purpose was, we're about the big K. We're about the kingdom of Christ. We're not just about our little castles that we're building. We're about the big kingdom. And if we can implement and infiltrate people with the gospel and then plug them into the bride of Christ, we win. God wins. And so what was so cool about Young Life, though, is one of their mottos, their marching order for them was, we have to put our best foot forward. Now, I'm not here sitting there saying that we have to put our best foot forward at the cost of everything else, but we represent the King. We represent Jesus, the creator of everything. I'm excited about that. I respect that. I want to honor that. So as we prepare for Sunday, as we prepare for anything that we do, the ultimate food, the ultimate bread of life, Jesus deserves the ultimate presentation. And so here's the challenge, though, that we have in the local church. We have to feed people. We have to be like Chick-fil-A in the fact that our ultimate mission is to feed people. Chick-fil-A's ultimate mission isn't just to serve people. That's something that they do in order to feed them. It's something that they do in order to feed them. I really want everybody to grasp that concept. Would you agree in this room that Chick-fil-A does an outstanding job at serving people? I do. Look at the care, the millions of dollars that they've spent creating the training, the systems that they've put in place to serve people in order to serve a chicken sandwich. Because the ultimate goal for them, the what, is feeding somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I said, what though? What if ultimately we just want to get this chicken sandwich in their possession? We want them to eat this sandwich. But we do realize that people are going to see what we're doing and everybody else is going to create a chicken sandwich. Yeah, our product needs to be great, and ultimately their product is great. But something that makes that product even better or more appreciated is the way that they give it to you. Man, I never feel bad about the price of something at Chick-fil-A because I always just feel like, keep the change. I don't know. Because they serve me. I feel like I feel like my day is better because I ate Chick-fil-A. I'm getting fatter, but I'm okay with it. They convince me that it's just okay, and for some reason in my mind, I'm just cool with that. So my point is this. The challenge that we have as a church is to feed people just like them. So we have to build believers and serve seekers. There's a twofold mission to the church. Okay? Because we have to build up believers. That's something that we have to do. We can't just say, okay, here you are. You believe in Jesus. Now you're on your own. Figure it out from here. But we also have to serve seekers. So you have to build believers and serve seekers. And so if you look at this from like a restaurant point of view, you have people that are, they're Chick-fil-A enthusiasts. All right? Like, I am coming to Chick-fil-A. How many of you have ever, this is kind of embarrassing because I've done this. How many of you have ever, dressed up as a cow on a Friday to get free Chick-fil-A? Sam and I are the only ones? Oh, thank you, Christy. So, I did do it with a bunch of students, though. The rest of you, I don't know what you did it with. So, I don't know that I would do that for many things, but I was like, free chicken, I can wear that. But with that, my point is this, though. We have to build believers and serve seekers. And so with Chick-fil-A, they have the same thing. They have their current clientele that they can't just forget about. So, we got to keep these guys wanting more. We have to keep them wanting more to stay plugged in. But we have to still, though, try to bring in new customers. So they have to do the same thing. They can't just say, we need new customers. No, we got to love the ones that we have as well. And so as we move forward, many of us today, we are believers. We are Christ followers. We've stepped over the line. We've said, I am in. And you said that you're part of the family of God. And then we have this other group of people that are seekers. And one of our goals here at One Church for us as we develop this is to feed believers. I don't want anyone to think that, okay, now that I believe, I'm not important anymore. But here's the truth in this. You matter more than you did before. Because you're part of what God cares about. God sent His Son Jesus to die for the lost. And right after that, He was pretty passionate about His church. So much so that He called it His bride. And so here we are today. One of our goals is to feed the believer, to feed you the bread of life. And that's kind of where I get to step in. I get to be the chef. I get to be the Carrie Box of church. The Emerald Lagasse. I'm kind of a guy here. I love Paula Deen. I love fried food. So I get to be that person. I get to be the chef. And I prepare the food, which would be the Word. That's what we are here today. I get to prepare the food. I get to, try different recipes every week. And it's going to, here's the truth of it. I love my wife, and I love that she always tries to keep things fresh and new, and she'll try recipes, and she'll bring them in, and she doesn't surprise me. That's probably a good thing. But she'll always be like, how does this sound? I'm like, it sounds great. Let's try it. And then sometimes things look good on paper. They look good in the shopping cart. They look good when we're preparing it, but the execution, maybe not so much. Maybe we won't do that again. That's going to happen. There will be Sundays where it just doesn't connect with you. But there will be Sundays where someone will try that recipe and try that day, and it's going to change your life. Some people love Waffle House. Some people don't. So as we move forward, we also have seekers. And what's a seeker? A seeker is someone that maybe they haven't crossed the line. Maybe they grew up in church and they just haven't crossed the line and they're not part of the family of God. But maybe you're here today and you don't know Jesus. That's okay. I'm thrilled about that. Maybe you're not part of the family of God, but that's the cool thing about the church is you're welcome. That's the thing that's so great about this is, you know what? Our job, my job as the chef, is just to get you in the restaurant. No chef can make you love his food. The food's the food. The bread of life is the bread of life. I can't do any better than what Jesus has already done. All I can do is present it. And Jesus is going to make you a believer. He's the one that's going to change your life and bring you back. Ultimately, it was Chick-fil-A's sandwich that brought me back. They can serve me, they can love me, they can do all these things, but if their product was awful, I'm not going back. But so hear this, we have the bread of life, Jesus. And so it's our mandate not just to build believers, but also to serve seekers. And someone, as a seeker, needs to feel loved, needs to feel welcome, needs to feel invited to be a part of where we are today. And that's the cool thing we have as the church, is we have the awesome opportunity every week to serve both groups, the believer and the seeker, to invite them to the table. We have the believers and the seekers, the churched and the unchurched, the sinners and the saints, invited together to be at the table. Together. I love that. That's my heart. How many of you would say that you ever invite people into your home? Does anybody, do you invite people into your home? Have people over? There's a few people that, okay. The rest of you, I don't know what's wrong with you. I love to invite people to my home, and I'm just a social person. If my wife would handle it, I'd have people there every night. She loves to have people over, but she loves to have privacy as well. But I love it. But think about this. When you invite people to your home, what are some of the things that you do? What do you do when you invite people to your home? Maybe for a meal. You clean?
Yeah.
You clean places you wouldn't normally clean? Yeah? You use dishes you wouldn't normally use? You use rooms that never get used? How many people have a dining room? Like, we have a dining room, I cannot tell you. The last time that we used the dining room, I'll tell you, the last time we used the dining room was to store furniture when we moved it out of our living room for church. We had this room that we would never use it. But anyways, when you invite people over, you clean. Do any of you have these candles that you don't ever light unless people are there? How many of you have those candles, ladies? Okay, husbands, how many of you have gotten in trouble for lighting a candle you weren't supposed to light? There's those candles that sit on top of the dining room table that they're still new and they've never been lit. People come over and you light it and they're like, "What are you doing?" It's a candle. I thought you lit that. No. So I don't know who the guest is that gets to see that candle burning, but we haven't had them yet. So I don't know who that's for. But you do. You set the mood. You put your best foot forward. And something else that you do, though, is you consider the likes and the needs of the person that's coming over. Someone that's a good friend of mine, who's not here this week, is Jeff Birch. Jeff Birch, like peanuts, right? He's allergic to peanuts. Yeah. And so you don't want to serve Chick-fil-A when Jeff's coming over. Jeff can't have Chick-fil-A, right? Because the peanut oil?
Well, I've had it.
Well, then he's a liar. And we'll have candy out, and it's there'll be like a Reese's in there. He'll throw it out or something like that. There's just these things that you can't have. My point in this, if someone has a peanut allergy, you probably want to take that into consideration before they come over to your house. If someone is a vegetarian, I'm sorry first of all, but if you're vegan, I still love you. We should disagree on some things, but that's okay. But my point in this is, someone's a vegetarian, you think about what their needs are, their wants are, their desires are. And as we prepare the church, we have to think about people are people. And how do we invite everybody to the table? How do we invite everybody to the table with all these different wants, these different likes, these different desires, these different needs? Some of us are believers, some of us aren't. Some of us like this music, some of us like that. And so how we do this, though, it's like, what do you do? You consider everybody. And I love this. What do you do to your children? It's so funny. I've got 3 daughters. And before I had these 3 daughters, I thought girls were just perfect. But it's so funny. These girls, I love them. But, before people come over, you'll find yourself having these little pep talks with them. And people are coming over, they're like, "All right, you listen to me. These are our gifts. You're going to listen. There will be I don't want no burping. I don't want anything coming out the other end." I mean, girls. I've got 3 of them. I didn't know they did these things. The last thing you want to do is follow them into the bathroom. I mean, so there's these things, I'm like, but you give these pep talks, just don't embarrass us. Don't embarrass us. And so you get these pep talks, and I think sometimes Jesus is doing the same thing to us. Shane, don't embarrass me. I've got all these guests coming over. You're representing me. Shane, please don't burp. Shane, please shower, bathe. You're representing me. Please put your best foot forward. We would tell our kids to do the same thing. So my point is, we go forward in this. We have the opportunity to serve samples of the bread of life. We have the opportunity to serve samples of the bread of life to the people that are passing by. And that's my heart in all this, is that we're not missing everybody that's passing by and going to the people that are already dining. That's my heart. And that's one of the things I'm really excited, to be honest with you, to be a mobile church right now. I'm excited to be a mobile church because you know what we don't have? We don't have a building that we are loving more than people. We don't have this castle that we're building or this facade that it's just this. It truly means that we have to be the church. It truly means that, you know what? Silver or gold have I not, but what I do have I give to you. We don't have anything to offer anybody but Jesus. I've got nothing to offer you. I have no great place that you can show off to your friends or feel pomp and circumstance. We've got the why. Come see us at the Y. Get a little workout and look a little Jesus at the same time. I don't know. Stick around and then you come back. But my point in this is that we don't miss the folks that are really hungry. That we're not bypassing the people walking by. And so here we are. Do we stay and put and feed the full, or do we step out and feed the hungry? We have to consider that those that are hungry don't know where to go to really get full. So Chick-fil-A has to consider this. Because I always have this really tough debate, internal debate, when I'm driving down Rangeline. I've got Chick-fil-A on one side and I've got Popeyes on the other. Both will feed me, but which one do I choose? And this debate doesn't really matter to me. I care that people know Jesus. I care that people are part of the kingdom of Christ, that we know Jesus. If it's not going to be here at one church, that's all right. I really am okay with that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying take off. I don't want you here and like that. But I'm under no false pretense that one church is going to be everybody's home. But I really do care that everybody is part of the church. If that's not here, then somewhere. If that's not here, then somewhere. That is my heart in all of this. And so as we prepare for Sundays, I have to think about this. I have to think first about the family. That's my heart as we started this church, as the family. I want to see families together come to church. I want to see dads loving Jesus. I want to see moms loving Jesus. I want to see kids loving Jesus. I want to see the family have the opportunity to worship together, to serve together, to play together, to be together. But I also have to think about this. We have to think about the guests. I have to think about the needs of the guests. Because not everybody that comes in here is family. I have to think about the people whose lives are falling apart. Every week, not everybody's coming in here with the perfect Beaver Cleaver family story and life's just good. I have to consider that. I have to consider as we go forward the marriages that are coming in here that are just hanging in the balance. Marriages that are coming in that are struggling, that are in need of Christ. I think about the teenager that comes in here that's considering ending it all. I think about the single adult that comes in that's battling loneliness, feeling that no one loves them. And that's the truth. You know, just this week, last night or 2 nights ago, I couldn't sleep. I'd been sick all day, Halloween, and I was cruising through Facebook at like 2 in the morning. And one of my former students is no longer with us. I don't know the result or the cause, but I have a feeling it's not good. 25 years old. Have to consider the fact that people are battling loneliness. So there's a real enemy. There's a real battle that we fight every day. There's an enemy that wants to seek, kill, and destroy us. That doesn't want you seated at the table. That doesn't want you enjoying dinner at the table. There's an enemy that doesn't want you loving Chick-fil-A, if you get what I'm saying. It's Popeyes across the street. Popeyes of the devil. No, I'm just kidding. Don't say that either. I'm kidding. I don't know if we have the power to delete that yet or edit that. I was just kidding. I love Popeyes, really. So here's My purpose, my point in all this is we have to think about everyone that's in the chairs. We can't just think about just the believer, but everybody that's in the chairs. Which takes me to the invitation. Who do we invite to the table? Who do we invite to the table? You know, who ultimately is Chick-fil-A after? Really, when you think about this, I think Chick-fil-A is after those that are hungry. Hungry. And that's a really good demographic to be after. You know, Chick-fil-A doesn't say, I'm just looking for the men. I'm just looking for the women. I just want the teens. Chick-fil-A says, you know what I want? Those that are hungry. That's our demographic. That's who we want to feed. That's who we want to serve. Those that are hungry. I guess you probably want to be in the mood for chicken. If you want a burger, you probably don't want to go to Chick-fil-A. But hungry. Who do we invite to the table? The hungry. John 4:34. I love this. Jesus says, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. Jesus sent by his Father. My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. And as I develop a Sunday, as we put this together, we have to look at some things. We have to consider the chairs at the table. And I think that there would be 3 types of chairs that would be seated at this table. And it's something that we have to look at this way. It's a rule of thirds. There should be a third of a healthy church, a healthy table should be divided into thirds. And we should have mature believers, all right? People that are mature believers that have stepped over the line, that definitely say they're a part of the family of Christ. They want to see it grow. They want to encourage others. They want to see ultimately the church as a whole, not just our church, but the church thrive and flourish. These are people that would invest in other ministries just besides this one. They would do missions. They would just, they are bought in. They live it with their life every day. Mature believers. So that's 1/3 of our healthy church. And then to go to the next third, we need baby believers. Baby Christians. Folks that have just stepped over the line. People that have just said yes. They're not to the depth or the knowledge or the understanding or the maturity of a mature believer. But they said yes. And they're still growing and seeking out knowledge and what it looks like really. They've counted the cost, but they haven't experienced the cost of what it means to be a follower of Christ. And so you have 1/3 of folks that are baby believers. And then the other third, what really needs to be here is just people that are just hell-bound sinners. People that are just lost. People that are just, life is a mess. You look at them and you just say, God bless them. But you want to love them where they're at and just love them. Because that's the deal is how successful or needed would a hospital be if all it just had was, granted, I would love it to be this way, but it's not. If there was never any sick coming into a hospital, it just had well people, you wouldn't need it. Granted, I would love it to be there would be no need for the church. I would love that. Ultimately, I would love to not have a job and I could just go sell Chick-fil-A. But that's not the case. And so if you have this hospital, you got multiple hospitals in town, but no one's visiting this one because they go to another one, there's got to be something wrong with that hospital. Something's unhealthy. Why is everybody going to Mercy and not Freeman? Or Freeman, I don't know. I'm not saying either one of those hospitals. Not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to put a picture. We can edit that. And Popeyes, I'm sorry. But my point is this. We've got to have the mature believers, the baby believers, and the hell-bound Christians. But now what has to happen, though, is it's this own organic cycle, like an ecosystem that is constantly reproducing itself. You've got mature believers that really care about these baby believers. And these baby believers, these new Christians are really valuable and they're awesome because they're still really connected to the hell-bound sinners. And they're friends. And we, as mature believers, need to be friends with people that don't go to church. And that's what's cool about that is Jesus was really good at loving people that didn't go to church. He was really awesome at it. And we're supposed to do the same. Love our neighbors as ourselves. And I've got these neighbors, they drive me crazy. They're wonderful people, but they drive me crazy. That their yard's always a mess. They own the circus. They're amazing. They're so nice, but they drive me crazy. But I love them. Like the way they live their life drives me crazy. But them as a person, I love them. I'm willing to overlook everything else, the fact that their yard's never mowed, that the trees are always down, that it's okay because I love them. I called me yesterday, I was at Lowe's getting some stuff for this, and he called me, he's like, hey Shane, I think I need to park a ticket booth at the end of the street. Are you okay with that? I'm like, sure, you bet, man. Ultimately, do I want a ticket booth in front of my house? No. But I'm cool with it because I love you. I love you more than I love what my house looks like. Sure, bring a circus ticket booth and park it in front of the house. I'm cool with it. Don't mow your lawn. You leave for 7 months out of the year and it looks like a jungle that maybe your elephants are in. I'm cool with that, though. Because I love you. I'm okay with that. I got to tell you, this is a funny story. We may have time for this, may not. Like, they just, I don't know, they go on the road and then they just do their thing. And so finally it's like, man, their yard really needs to be mowed. And so it's like, we could just complain about it and wish something. We could call the city and tell the city. It's like, no, I don't hate these people. I love them. It's an opportunity to serve them. Let's serve them. So I went over and I mowed their lawn, and it went great. Well, then in the process of mowing their lawn, it ruined my lawnmower. And they had a lawnmower sitting out front, and I remember my wife, God bless her, my wife was like, well, maybe we should just go get their lawnmower and finish the job. So my wife goes over and she tries to start their lawnmower, and she's like trying to start the lawnmower, and she can't do it. And then she looks up and there's a game cam sitting right in front of her. So if they look at that game cam, they'll know who mows their lawn or tries to use it. So, but the good news is we were doing it to try and serve them. So you laugh about it now, but we were loving them. And in the process of loving them, we had to use their stuff. So anyway, my point is this: as we go forward, you just got to love people where they're at. Just got to love people where they're at. And that's what's so neat about this is we need to get these folks that are hellbound to become baby believers, and baby believers become mature believers, and again, loving those, and it just recreates. And so we have to set up that structure to still love the believer and still love the seeker. Okay? Now what does that look like on the grand scale? Well, it takes time. But that is a healthy church. If the mature are doing what they should be doing, the mature are inviting the hellbound, they're giving them the sample, and then that person then becomes a baby Christian. And moving forward, it becomes what Christ wanted it to be, the church. And so I'm going to ask you this right now. Who in your life is hungry? Who in your life today is hungry? And I hope that as I say this, people are coming to your mind. Who in your life would you say is hungry? Your neighbors? Co-workers? Peers? Family members? People you just met? And I hope that you have people in your life that when you go through Walmart, you think they're people. I promise you, we go through Walmart so stinking much that there are definitely people that are checkout people that I look for specifically. To just be kind, to just be nice, to try and get to know them, and just, if nothing else, be a pleasant light in their day. I have no coupons. Just want to buy my stuff and not be a pain. Beverly Davis. Coupons. She's not a pain. I'm just giving her a hard time about the coupons because my wife now is doing the coupons. And anyway, my point is this is who in your life is hungry and what are you doing about it? Who in your life is hungry and what are you doing about it? And a lot of you may be saying, but Shane, I'm not educated. I don't know enough to be doing something about it. But that's not the truth. That's not the truth. You don't have to know anything, but you just need to know Jesus to do something about it. You just have to know Jesus to love somebody. You don't need to preach to them, I promise you. You don't need to preach to anybody. Probably the least effective thing to win somebody to Christ or just to love them and show them the love of Jesus is preaching. In fact, I would encourage you to shut up. Don't say anything. I love this. One of the things that we're supporting in Joplin High School right now is we give as a church, we tithe. We take out our first 10% and we give it away. And one of the things that we support is a thing at the high school right now. It's called Doulos. And Doulos is a really neat ministry at the high school. And what they're doing, they're not saying a word. They don't say a word. They have high schoolers that look to their peers that need love. And they just serve them. There's no pomp and circumstance. There's no words to it. They don't go preach to them. They just love them. Peers seeking out other high schoolers and going and giving them things that they need. Helping them, supporting them so that they can succeed. So that they can have the things that they need. And I'd almost do it like in a Robin Hood sort of way. Quiet. Just love them. They don't like get on a bandstand and say, these are the people that we helped. I want you to all notice that Doulos helped these people. No, it's not like that at all. It's like covert. It's like Batman. I love it. And so my point in this is just loving them where they're at. What are you doing about it? So, moving forward, you do need to pray for them. You need to pray for these people that are hungry. You need to pray that God will give you the opportunity to share with them. That you'll get the opportunity to share these samples. To take the Chick-fil-A to these people. You have the opportunity to have that moment. And we give out samples to people by the way that we talk. What does a sample look like? We give out samples to people by the way that we talk. The places that we go. The way we act in business. By our attitudes. By our actions. These are the samples that we give away. I wish it could be so easy. You just on a plate and like, here you go. This will tell you what I mean. This will tell you how I feel about you. No, it's this. Our actions. The way that we live our lives outside of this room. The way that we love people outside of this room. Truth be told, many of you are in this room today because of the way that you've been loved by someone else in this room. Because their actions outside of the room told you that this was a healthy place to be. Because the way that you were loved outside of the room told you that there are going to be people here that love Jesus. Their actions outside of this room told you that this would be a safe environment for you to come. I can't tell you the weight that you carry in representing Jesus. The samples that you live out outside of this room. As parents, the way you love your children. As husbands, the way that other men look at you loving your wife and your children. As moms, the way that you love your children and your husband. As single people, the way that you date. The way that you live your life. The way that you represent. I'm just telling you, these are those things that people will look at. And it's easy for us to sit there and say, well, you can't judge me. You're right, I can't judge you, but how will you know them? You'll know them by their fruit. It's not judging. What else do I have to go on? What else does the world have to go on but our actions, but our fruit, but the way that we live our lives? We can't just covertly just walk through life and go, no, people just need to know that I love Jesus. You're right. People need to know that you love Jesus. And I've always said this. I can tell everything I need to know about you. Everyone point to yourself. People can tell everything that they need to know about you by just talking to your friends. By talking to your kids. By talking to your spouse. I don't need to talk to you. I want you to think about this right now. What would your kids say about your love for Christ? What would your spouse say about your love for Christ? What would your friends say about your love for Christ? So what are you doing? Takes me to the next thing. It's the preparation. So who do we invite? The hungry. The preparation. I love this. Jesus 21:18. Jesus says, feed my sheep. Again, he's talking about eating. It says in 21:18, feed my sheep. Jesus right here is talking to Simon Peter. He's saying, do you love me? If so, if you love me, Simon Peter, if you love me, then feed my sheep. And he says it multiple times. I guess Simon Peter was kind of hard of hearing, or it was difficult for him to grasp things, or I don't know. But he's like, if you love me, then feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. It's funny, I do this to Bella, my daughter. She'll be like, she'll ask me a question, I'll say it again, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. So it's like Jesus is saying this to Simon Peter, saying, feed my sheep. And so that's where I am. I'm the chef. I'm the Paula Dean, the Emerald, the Guy Fieri, the dude with the food. I have to make sure that we serve food in a way that people can understand it. We have to make sure that what we do here on Sunday mornings, people can come in and get it. It's got to be simple enough that people get it. It's got to be deep enough that the believers say, I'm getting fed. But the biggest thing is that people get it. It's got to be simple enough that we get it. No one understands anything unless they can explain it back in a simple way. Here's what we eat. Here's how we digest it. And here is how we live it out. Anyone in here ever been to Mexico? Yeah. I can remember going to Tijuana. And I remember sitting down at a restaurant one time and they bring out this menu. And it's all in Spanish. It's all in Spanish. And don't get me wrong, I know like Donde Está or like Yo Quiero Taco Bell. I know like the things on the menu at Taco Bell, Chalupa. But I don't speak Spanish. And I remember as I sit down, like the waiter kind of laughing, like chuckling at me. He's like, gringo. But seeing though that I didn't speak Spanish, guess what they had? They had another menu in English. They had another menu in English. And I can remember that being a good feeling. Because it's not a comfortable feeling to sit down, and maybe for you it's an Asian restaurant, to sit down in like a foreign country and look at their menu and then just try and guess if something that is, number one, going to be healthy to eat, that you would choose to eat, and that you would like to eat. And so in that, my point is when I saw this English menu come out, it changed my experience because they thought of me. And I think that as the church, we have to do that. People need to think that when they walk into the church that we thought of you. How great a feeling is that when you walk into anywhere? That's why they do like place cards at fancy dinners and things like that. How great is that when you walk in? It's like kind of cool. It's like there's a little card that has your name on it. Someone thought of you. Or you go in and there was something that they made that day. It's got bacon in it. They thought of you. You walk in and they thought of you. It's a good feeling, and that's how Christ, He thought of us. And so we have to explain things in a way that people get it, and then when people get it, they share that. Matthew 9:37 says this, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few." There's already a group of people involved in this church, and I'm just about done here. There's already a group of people that are involved in this church that come in on Saturday nights, and it's so fun. Come in here on Saturday nights because this room isn't set up. The Y isn't set up for this, but they come in on Saturday nights because they love you. Because they're thinking of you. They're thinking about the people that are coming in to sit in the chairs. Ultimately, they do it for Christ. Because they love Jesus, but they're thinking of you. So if you're sitting in these chairs right now, somebody was thinking of you when they came in last night to set up. Putting the screens up, the sound up. As I prepared this message, I was thinking of you. I made a dish with bacon today because I was thinking of you. Insert whatever you like in place of bacon. So how much though? Let me go forward here. So the presentation here, I have to think of this as the people in the room. And I want us to think about this as I close with this. So many churches do this though. There's churches that live on like a diet. And a diet is a good thing. I know anyone hearing the word diet, it's not a positive thing. Like no one ever likes to be on a diet. If you do say you like to be on a diet, there's something wrong with you. You're probably overweight. That's why you're on a diet. There's something wrong. Like that's me. I'm on a diet. But my point is this. There's a lot of churches that are diet driven. And so what that means is they concentrate on the Word of God. And they'll digest the Word of God. They feed on Scripture. And we have to do this. We have to be in the Word. I'm not saying being in the Word is a bad thing. But we have to be in the Word. It's vital. It's a huge deal for us to be in the Word for survival. But let's think about this for a moment. What does the medical community say is vital to live a healthy life? Besides diet, we must diet and exercise. Isn't that funny? We're at the Y. We must diet and we must exercise. So think about this. We must diet and we must exercise. So what we have to make sure that we're doing though is this, that we're not just dining on the Word, but we have to get up and do it. We have to get up and do it. We've got to get outside of the walls and do something about it. Feed on the Word and push away from the table and get out there and do what it says. Exercise and serve. We've got to serve seekers. What's the best way that, going back to what I said earlier, that we could love Jesus? Shut up. Just shut up and serve somebody. Find a need and do something about it. Find a need and do something about it. Just serve people. Love them unconditionally. I think I put too many syllables in that. Love them unconditionally. We have to make sure that we don't just sit around and get fat because it's easy to just want to eat. That's something I can relate to. All right? So I want to close with this thought. Jesus was really good at doing something. He was really good at being consistently inconsistent. And I love this about Jesus. And this is my heart as we go forward. Right now we're in the Y. I'm excited to get to preach for this first day. I'm excited that you're here. But the cool thing is, it doesn't always have to be just this. We get to be the church. It was so cool a few weeks ago. We were just in my house. And I love this. Thoughts like this. Travis was saying, what if? I love these things. What if? How do we take what if and make it what is? He's saying, what if the first time we have a snow day? We're a mobile church. I can't guarantee that the Y is going to plow there a lot, So what if that first time we have a snow day, what if we just make that a service day? If we know that ahead of time, the first day we get that, we're praying for that snow day to come. Because what if that day, one church was just ready? We have shovels ready, we have cookie stuff ready, we have hot chocolate stuff ready, and what if on that day, instead of having church, I'm not concerned, let's go be the church. That first day that it snows, let's say, we'll all go meet at a location and break from there. Let's go shovel people's driveways. Let's go serve them. Let's go love them. Let's go dig them out. Just go serve people. Why can't that be church? If you want, I'll give a message when we get over there. Caleb can wear fingerless gloves and we can play guitar if we need to do that. But what if we were just the church? What if we were just the church? What if we were just the hands and feet of Jesus, loving people? We don't have to be in a room on Sunday morning just like this every week. And that's the thing that was so cool about Jesus. He was consistently inconsistent. He never communicated in the same way. His theology never changed. That didn't change. But listen to this. He wrote in the sand to communicate. He stood on the bow of a boat to communicate. He picked up a child to communicate his love. He pointed to a sower. He talked about one time about a building fall over. He used parables. He used picture representations, humor. He used a cross to communicate his love to the world. Jesus communicated in different ways all the time. And what if we communicated the love of Christ in different ways? Not by us just sitting in a room, raising our hands to a song, giving some money, and going home and never living out our faith at all. The possibilities of the church are endless, folks. If we are willing to live it out in our lives. If we are willing to live it out in our lives. Here's the thing. It's our job as the church to be the hands and feet of Jesus. It's not our job to be the surgeon, to fix people. It's not our job. That's Jesus. That's God's. We're the hospital. Come on in. We'll be that team that takes care of you right there, whatever that's called, right there when they come in. I'll make sure you stay alive, but it's ultimately Jesus' job to fix you, to love you. I'll love you. But he's the only one that can change you, not us. So with that being said, I want us to pray. I want us to pray about a few things. As we go forward, consider your role in this. Consider the folks that need to be at the table right now. Because we have to have this be a healthy church. We have to have mature believers. If you're a mature believer in here, I'm thankful for you. If you're a new believer in here today, I'm thankful for you. If you don't know Jesus today and you're in here, I'm thankful for you. Jesus thought you were pretty valuable. Died for you. I think it'd be pretty good of me to do this thing. Let's pray.